Hey everybody, Dean Graziosi here, and it is so awesome that you're joining me here today. Before we get started, I just want to say how much I appreciate you raising your hand and taking the time to join me right this minute. The whole world wants more. They want to make more money. They want to have more passion. They want to be better parents, better spouses, have more energy, more vitality, love life. But most people, as you know, as I know as well, just talk about it. They don't really take action. And you being here right now shows me you're an action taker. And I am so excited what I'm going to deliver to you that you can digest in the next 4 weeks. You can go crazy like I probably would and devour it in days, or maybe you spread it out over a couple months. But I encourage you to start this and not stop until we're completely done. These aren't things that I'm going to share with you that I just thought about one night in a dream. From my own personal journey of starting with nothing and living in a trailer park and, just a whole bunch of stuff we'll talk about later when it makes sense to talk about it. And my parents being married 5 times each and living a life where I thought I was destined to work at a gas station and have nothing. And I saw nothing but broken homes. I didn't know if I'd have love or kids and that was a terrible story I told myself. And I've been blessed to discover there's a whole nother path. And then you combine that with the fact I've been blessed to touch the lives of millions of people and have New York Times best-selling books and travel the world and be friends with billionaires and some of the top world changers and thought leaders in the world. And all that's great. But what it boiled down to is I know what my unique ability is. And it's the ability to take complicated things in some cases, or in most cases, and boil it down and deliver a path and a plan that people can follow. And that's what I want to do today. From all these years of digesting and overcoming my own obstacles and helping so many others overcome theirs, I've discovered a true path. I've discovered 2 ways, in fact. 2 ways. 2 things that literally can transform your life. By the time you're done watching this video and training series, your life can truly transform, not because I have a magic pill, not because there's 1,000 different steps that you got to do every day like this crazy regimen, but I'm going to show you how to make this little tiny shift in your life. And every day you're going to get further away from the things that you don't want anymore and closer to what you do want. And if that's a better relationship, if that's better health, if that's more money, if it's more vitality, whatever it is, more passion in your life, I promise you, working together, we can accomplish this. So stick with me. You've come this far, and I can't wait to deliver some of these incredible gifts and nuggets and triggers. You see, in life, here's what I know. There are a lot of things, a lot of incredible books that you may have read. Maybe you've gone to live events that just get your state of mind through the roof, and you feel amazing. But then you come back home, right? Or you get done reading a book, and a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, you kind of settle, and that peak went away. And what my goal is here, and what you'll see is I don't want to deliver this peak of state, and you feel amazing, and then it dies down, and you go back to that life that you don't love or you wouldn't be watching. What I want to do is teach you how to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. So many people, most of the world go through life and the outside circumstances are what control you. If the economy's good, you might feel good about business. If your wife or your husband treats you good that day, you feel good about your relationship. If your kids are perfect that day, you feel great. But what about when the kids aren't so perfect, or you have a miscommunication with a spouse, or you get fired from a job, or your company doesn't make it, or you owe more taxes, or the thing you thought was going to come through didn't? What do you feel like then? And that's when we get these massive peaks, because we are living life as a thermometer, letting everything else affect us. Now, in life, you may have read books where there's so many different pieces, like I said, but what I want to show you these 2 things, and that is your state of mind and your confidence. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a bad state. Things went wrong, and then something triggered you, and immediately you felt amazing. You were in this good mood. Maybe there was extra money in your account. Your wife or husband did something special. You're falling in love. Passion was through the roof. Your kids did something special. You started a new company. It kicked off great. You got a promotion. You felt good that day. You changed your state just like that. Well, what I'm going to share with you through this training is how you can change your state in a moment. Let me just take a minute and show you on the whiteboard, and I'm going to use this whiteboard a lot through our training, is if your life is here and you get a peak of feeling good, and then you come back down here and you fall, and it kind of goes like this, and then you get a peak, and then you go down, that's that's not a life that's sustainable for joy, for happiness, for love, for passion, for fulfillment. And if I just showed you how to get in peak, then you'd look like this. Because that's knowing how to change your state, but not having the confidence that's been stripped away by you through outside forces that are beyond most people's control because they don't know they exist. What I can show you is if we can bring that confidence level on the inside of you. You know, most people, I'm going to digress here a little. Most people think I have 100% confidence or zero. If I have zero confidence, things aren't working. I mean, when your confidence is down, if I was to have this video, I was like, hey, everybody, you know, I'm really going to try to help you change your life because you deserve it. If I was like that, you wouldn't listen to 2 minutes of this video, right? But most people think it's 100% confidence or zero. No, let me just give you a little secret. 100% of confidence is what gets you the life you deserve, so you don't have these peaks. You get your state up, and then when you come down, your state's back up, you come down, and all of a sudden you start living up here rather than down here with a couple spikes and a couple lows. You can truly live up here, but it's not 100% confidence and zero, it's 100% and 90%. If this is 100% and this is 0%, 90 and below, to me, this is the gray zone. That's when you live down here. What I want to show you is that this 90 to 100 is the 100% we want to live in. And I'm going to show you how to stay up there more and more. You see, here's what I believe. In so many cases, things have eluded you in the past. Maybe success has eluded you. Maybe the relationship you wanted eluded you. Maybe the health you wanted just wasn't there, or the physical body that wasn't exactly where you knew it could be. It just, for some reason, it didn't work. And I believe, truly, that there's a villain living inside of you. That sounds a little crazy, but give me some time after this introduction. When we dive in, I want to show you how society has literally created a villain in all of us. And I'm going to expose that villain. I'm going to teach you how to kill that villain. I'm going to let the true you come out. I'm going to show you how to unleash your inner hero and let that inner hero be the new person that guides your life, be the new person that helps you with your thoughts, the hero to create a new story. You see, in life, these outside circumstances, this villain that builds up after years, and I know exactly why it's there. Tens of thousands of posts I've read from my students through their evolution. I know what creates this inner villain. And I know what explodes and lets this true inner hero come out. And all of a sudden, boom, somebody's life has changed. You're like, what happened? Because they were able to kill the villain and unleash the hero. You see, these outer forces in society that end up coming into our soul, into who we are, from limiting beliefs instilled by us, by other people, and all these other pieces I'll explain to you later, it's created a story. You have a story. I have a story. You know, my story was, as a kid, I didn't have any money. I lived in a trailer park. I went to special reading. I barely graduated high school. I didn't have any money. I was the smallest kid in class. My parents moved 1,000 times. You know, by the time I was 20, my parents moved 19 times. I'm not saying poor me, because your story might be much worse, but also, my father was a little crazy when I was young, and I say that really lightheartedly now. There was some really insane stuff that went on in my childhood. And my dad was always fighting for his family and missed it. It was just crazy. We all have our craziness, right? But that was my story for a while. How am I going to get ahead and start my own business? I'm starting with nothing, with no high school education. I have dyslexia. Reading is very difficult for me. So my story was, you know, my dad was tough on me. I moved. We don't have money. How could I do my own thing? That's for smart kids that have money, because it takes money to make money, right? Or that's for kids who went to college and they got a degree and people respect them. Who's going to respect a guy that I worked on cars in high school with grease under my nails every single day? Who would respect? That was just a horrible story. When I changed the story, I changed my life. Gina Heredis, an amazing lady. I had the opportunity to train her and coach her. You know what her story was? She was a stay-at-home mom, an amazing stay-at-home mom, no better than her. And her husband worked hard outside the house, and she worked hard inside the house. She gave piano lessons, but you know, she was heading towards 60, and her kids were starting to move out of the house. And you know, she was getting a little tired and you know, run down a little bit, and not really wanting to go to the gym, and cut her hair short, and and said that, she was too old now, and now with weddings and colleges for her kids, she needed more money. So she said, maybe I'll go to Costco and be a door greeter, go back to school. And we showed her how to change her story. That was a bullshit story. That was just a story she was telling herself, and your emotions, your story is the life you live. I don't want to boil this whole training series down to one little statement, but your emotions, your thoughts, your state is your life. We project that. She was projecting, I'm an old lady, I can't do much. Maybe this is the down part of my life, and I'll just settle in. And no, she immediately realized there was more. She changed her story to know that she was a young, vibrant, amazing woman who could do anything she wanted. She started her own company. She got her hair done a totally different way. She started going to the gym. She started making more money than she ever made in her entire life. Her husband lost his job, and she didn't care. She had passive income coming in. She let her husband take some acting, but she had her husband take acting classes that he wanted to do his whole life. They bought their dream house. It all started with the story. I have to be honest with you. It wasn't a magic pill. It wasn't a magic button. It wasn't, she didn't hit the lotto. When she changed her state, and she changed her story, her emotions changed, and she attacked the world and changed everything. Now, Gina wasn't broke. She wasn't living in despair. She just was living a life that was status quo and not that happy. She loved God. I have to tell you that. She's an amazing Christian, but still internally, she wasn't happy. But she changed her story, and she was. But it doesn't, if I just say to you now, change your story, that might last by the time we're done with this video. I'm going to give you the tools to show you how to make this tiny shift where you could change that story, change your state, and build the confidence to go to another level. Now, Gina, like I said, she wasn't broke, she wasn't desperate, but wanted more. But on the complete other side of the spectrum is Carol Stenson from New Jersey, a mom of 7, who literally, when she got one of my books and was starting this transformation, she was down to her last $30 in the world. Literally, she told me, and we documented this, she had less than $30 when she bought my book, and her kids had to eat peanut butter and jelly all week. The electric was being shut off in her house. She was in foreclosure. Husband lost his job. And she grew up really not middle class, not lower class, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, didn't come from money. Everybody she knew didn't have money. Everybody she knew said that, she had this surrounding, this story that only rich people got richer, and no one helped out somebody that was broke. No one helped someone out from her neck of the woods. Everybody in her area, her friends and family, always wondered why no one helped them. And she said she literally had that mindset, and that story is like, this is my life. My kids are never going to go to college. I can't do great things for them. They're going to struggle just like we struggled. That's the plight of where we grew. That's just who we are. And I feel so blessed that I got to show her that she could change her story, change her state, change where she lived emotionally. And Carol went from, it's hard to recognize this woman. She went from this beat up, tired, I'm just being honest, this beat up, tired woman that looked like life just kicked her ass to this freaking machine. She took and started her own company. She went and took ownership. She ended up buying a house, buying a new car, sending her kids to college. They took their first family vacation. These are the little things. I'm not saying your back is against the wall like she was, but could you imagine a woman where she was afraid they were going to take her kids? Because in New Jersey, if they shut off your utilities, they come grab your kids because you can't have kids in a house with no utilities. This is what this woman was fearing, saying, this is my life, this is what I'm destined for because that's who I am. To go from that to this empowered woman who says her kids are going to college. Listen, I remember one of the first things she posted on one of my video blogs and my blog. She posted, took my kids shopping at a mall today. It's the first time they've ever seen a mall or spent money in a mall in their entire life. Now, we might take for granted, you need something, you go to the mall. This is a woman who never took her kids. They shopped at the Salvation Army. And I watched this woman's story change, and now she's written her own book. She's this empowered woman trying to help other women do the same thing. It blows my mind. But you know what it all happened? It happened when she changed her state, changed her story, built the confidence, and didn't let life determine where she was going or how she felt. She became the thermostat, not the thermometer. And that's what we're going to do over this 4-week period, or if you obsess in just days from now through this training, is I'm going to show you how to make these tiny little shifts to kill that villain that's been built inside of you, that maybe that villain is the reason you had missed opportunities in the past. I'm sure there's a couple regrets living in there of, I could have done this back in the day, but I was scared. I could have taken that job, but my family wanted me to go this way. I could have gone up and talked to that woman, and maybe she would have been my wife, but I missed out because I was in the wrong state and had the wrong confidence in the story I was telling myself. It's not, I'm going to repeat this, it is not a million different things you have to change with your life. I have to repeat that. I'm a simple thinker, guys, and I just want to share with you, I've been so blessed to discover that if you throw out everything else in personal development, and let me tell you something, personal development has transformed my life, and I've read everything in the last year, especially from Dale Carnegie and Earl Nightingale in the past, all the way up to the thought leaders of today. And I've digested it all, but when I boil it all down, it's those two things. I'm going to show you how to change your state in a moment, in an instant, have a trigger to do that, and feel the peak, feel alive, and then show you how to build the confidence that if you think you have none, you have it. If you think you have a lot, you might be at 94%. I'm going to show you how to be at 100% so you can live at that higher peak and just enjoy this life that was given to us by God, the universe, whatever you believe. Listen, this is our day. This is our moment. We get to seize it. No one can take it from us. And we're supposed to be here to deliver our unique abilities, our passion, our pleasure, not be stifled in a job you don't like, in a relationship that sucks, or feeling like you're trapped. We're going to break those bars, and we're going to have you live in the life you deserve today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life. No more peaks, no more valleys. Let's get to a point where you become the thermostat. Now get ready for the first part, the first section of this life transformation, and we're going to show you how to unleash that hero within. All right, glad to have you back. I'm hoping you probably didn't even leave. In a moment here, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and do the first exercise that really can set the tone to jumpstart. Why the hell are you here? Why are you listening to me? What do you want out of life? And there's lots of things that can share that. And we could talk about goals and all those things down the road. But the quickest, fastest way I know how to determine where you are and where you want to go is to simply answer those questions. So take your form out that has this exact breakdown, and let's go to the whiteboard. Again, I'm going to use the whiteboard a lot through this training. But here's what I want to share. Write down right now, if you have to pause this video, where are you in life? Now, here's what I want to share about this, and this is from one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. Incredible guy, great thinker, and he knows how to put a simple process to everything. When you decide where you are, all change starts with telling the truth. All change. You can't make an impact on your life, anybody else's, unless you tell the truth. So where are you right now? Where are you living emotionally? Where are you financially? Where are you with your health, with your passion, with your physical being, right? Are you in great shape, medium shape, horrible shape? Where are you truly? What drove you to watch my video and be here and want to learn this? There's something right now in your life that you need to be completely honest with yourself. Stop this video at any time. Take a walk outside. Shut off the phone and get everybody out of the room if you have to. But it's time to be completely, blatantly, and brutally honest with yourself. You are watching me for a reason. So where are you right now? Pause the tape. I'm going to keep talking here, but pause the video right now. Be honest with yourself and decide where you are. Okay, hopefully you did that. Now, I don't know where you are, with money, with love, with health, right? Where are you? Then I want you to go over here and decide, where is it that you truly want to go? In life, and this is a really important lesson, in life, it is so easy for people to tell you what they don't want. So many times I'll be talking to somebody and I'll go, okay, I just heard for 10 minutes what you don't want out of life. You don't want to be alone anymore. You want a relationship. I get that. But what do you want? And people go, always pause. Ask somebody what they, do this, take this to test. Go in the other room, ask a spouse, a friend, anybody, somebody at work, and go, hey, what don't you want out of life right now? and they'll go, oh, I don't want this job anymore. I don't want the minimal pay I get. I don't want my wife to bust my chops anymore. I don't want my kids to come home late when I give them a curfew. And then you go, okay, good. What do you want? And they go, let me think about that. It's like, how do we navigate through life if we don't know what we really want? Now, it's like getting in the car and you have the perfect car. It's brand new, got filled up with gas. It's got a fast engine, and you get in the car and you just hit the gas and go, where do you want to go? I don't know, but let's go, right? Who knows where you're going to end up? So knowing where you are is perfect. You know where you are on the map, but what is your ideal destination? And maybe you already know it, and if so, you're ahead of 98% of the world. But I'd really love to decide, where is it that you really want to go? Where do you want your income to be? Where do you want your time with your family or loved ones to be? How do you want your passion to be? Your health, your body, your kids. I don't know what drove you to be here today, but there's something. So where is it that you are, and what do you really want? How much money do you want to make? How much time do you want? What do you want to do for a living? Is it your job, right? I know so many baby boomers that took a job, and I'll talk more about that later, took a job 30 years ago to satisfy their parents, and they're still in it and they can't stand it. Where is it? Where do you want to go? Do you want to be self-employed? Do you want to be the leader at your job? Do you want to just retire and do something from high? I don't know what it is that you want, but you need to know. And how about your body? Are you in the shape you want? Do you make excuses and say, I'm a little overweight because I'm big boned? There's no big skeletons, right? It's really all about knowing. Now, again, we're going to talk about something else in a minute that'll make sense here, but I want to know where you are, and I want to know where you want to go. So stop the video right now and really think about what you really want. Doesn't have to be in detail, just rant. Where do you want to go? And here's the best way. Oh, before you stop the video and do this, I want to share the best way to get where you want to go. This is the truth. Everybody talks about goals. I had trouble setting goals when I was young. I was more like the guy that would, if you had to dig a ditch, I wouldn't say, oh, it's got to be this long, this wide, and we'll stop when it's there. I would get in the ditch and just start digging as fast as I can, and I'd look up once in a while. When it was done, I'd go on to another ditch. Just always moving, not stopping, and kind of setting where I want to go. It was hard, but then one thing changed everything. Instead of looking where you want to go, this is what I want you to do here in a moment. I want you to stop the video, do this exercise, and write down where you want to go. Let's pretend it's 1 year from today, and everybody watching, we're celebrating, and we're at a big event, and it was the best year of your life. I mean, just the year that you always wish for, with your money, your time, your passion, your health, your body, your kids, your job, whatever it is you want. It was just that year. So instead of looking to what that could be, let's pretend it's a year from now, and let's turn around and look backwards. And what had to happen in that year to make it so incredible? Do that right now, and then write down where you want to go. Okay, I hope you did that exercise, and if you're not in a place right now, you could write things down. I encourage you to go back to this section, see what time code it is on the video, and go back and watch this. But here's the last factor. In so many cases, you already have an idea on how. So how are you going to take your income from here to here? How are you going to take your love from here to here to passionate? And how are you going to take your health to the body you want and the health you want? How are you going to take your kids, your job? How are you going to get there? In most cases, you're like, well, Dean, that's why I'm watching you, right? But here's the thing. In a lot of cases, or in most cases, you have an idea. So now I really want you to take time, pause this video again, and I want you to write down, how do you think you can make more money? How do you think you could get more time in your life? Right? How can I get more time? Cut out this bad habit or this thing that doesn't benefit me, the universe, God, my family, right? Make more money. What if I had the nerve? What if I had a different story? What if my story wasn't, man, trying your own business, you failed, because my parents tried when they were young and they failed. How do you get rid of that story and say, no, I'm in charge of my own future. If I want to start my own company, I can. How do you change? We'll talk about that later, but changing that story. But how, if the story, here's the best way to put it. If your story was different, if there was no limiting beliefs, if no one was going to tell you, no, that won't work, you can't do that, stay in line, do what everybody else does, there's restrictions, the economy's bad, the country's bad, we're leaning towards socialism, or we're not, we're too conservative, no, we're too liberal, the Congress is good, the Congress is bad. What if all of that was gone? And it was just about knowing how to get there if there was zero restrictions, if there was no obstacles in your way. How would you get there? How would you improve your love life and your passion? How would you improve your body and your health? If time wasn't an issue, what would you do with your kids or your grandchildren? What would you do about your job, your income? Stop right now and write it down with no restrictions. Okay, I hope you did that exercise because this can jumpstart everything. We're going to go back and reference this later on, and at the end of this training, we're going to do this same exercise again. And we're going to say, where are you now? We're going to add now. Where do you want to go now? And how are you going to get there now? Because it's my job to give you the capabilities to show you that you can go from here to here, and I'm going to give you the tools and the vehicles to make this tiny little shift in your life to get to this side to where you want to go. So maybe in a year from now, we could meet in an airport, or I'll see you at a live event, and you can go, this was the greatest year of my life. And the best part about it is it's sustainable. So that's why this exercise is important. So now let's get right to section 1 and exposing that inner villain that has held you back before, could hold you back in the future, and how we can kill it so it never stops you again. Okay, in this first section, we're going to talk about exposing this inner villain. And it'll make more sense when the reason I gave it a name is because we need to identify this as that thing that creates self-doubt, that's held you back in the past, that's giving you these stories that create your emotions, and where we live emotionally is just where we live. What we think about is who we become in so many instances. So let's just satisfy my silliness here, and let's call this the villain within. And I want to tell you now how to expose it, how come it's there, and I'm going to give you, along the way, I'm going to give you ways to kill the villain. But in section 2, I'll give you the freaking grand slam, the freaking death punch to kill that villain once and for all. And then later we'll get on how to unleash your inner hero. But right now, let's expose the villain. Now, through the magic of video, this board is all of a sudden clean with something written on it. So how do we expose this inner villain, and what creates it and fuels it? Because there's two things. The villain gets created on the inside, and then it's fueled. So here's an example. You probably have heard this story, but I heard this story of a Navajo Indian telling her grandson a story about 2 wolves that live inside of them. And one wolf is jealous and has envy and is bitter and has a scarcity mindset, and everything in the world is wrong and people are no good and nothing ever good happens to that wolf, and it's just this horrible wolf living on the inside. And then she says, but you have another powerful, I get goosebumps talking about stuff like this, you have another powerful wolf as well who lives in you, inside of you, who has empathy and love and compassion and knows he can accomplish anything, and he sees the bright side of everything. The glass is half full, and this wolf can take you in so many places. And the grandson looks at his grandmother and says, well, what wolf wins, Grandma? And she said, the one you feed, grandson. So I gotta get goosebumps because that's life. We have this villain inside of us, but we have this hero inside of us. And my hope is that if you recognize the villain, because in so many cases you don't know you have it. Like, let's look at it this way. There's people who go to a third world country, and they go there for so many reasons to help in so many cases. But they come back and just don't feel the best. But don't really know. They're not dying, not enough to kill them, but they just feel a little sluggish and feel a little off. And I know in a prime example, I'm thinking of an example where this exact thing happened. And the person went on for 8 or 9 months just feeling off. Finally, they went to the doctors and found out they had a parasite living inside of them that was making it so their nutrients, the food they were eating, wasn't going to their body to fuel these amazing bodies that we have, right? So he wasn't dead, he didn't die, but it was enough to just throw off everything in his life. And then he got the medication, and it killed the parasite, and all of a sudden his food started digesting. He saw the world again. He was vibrant and healthy, but he didn't know this parasite was living inside of him. And I look at this villain within. It's living inside of you. Whether it's dominating right now, it's a 50-50 partner, or it pokes his head out once in a while and messes crap up in your life, it's in there. And I want to expose this parasite because you can't cure anything, you can't take the right medicine until you expose this parasite. So let's talk about it. Now, where did I get this? I didn't pull this out of a hat. I've been blessed to touch the lives of millions of people and have New York Times best-selling books and speak on stages all around the world and shake the hands of thousands of people and read tens of thousands of posts on our website. I know what holds you back. I know what creates the villain. I know what crushes your confidence. When I talk about the inner villain or that self-doubt or the reason you missed opportunities in the past, really what I'm talking about is that villain destroys your confidence. And remember, not 100% to zero. Even if it takes your confidence from 100% and 90, you could stand in line, you could live status quo, you could miss out on life, and you can live in a gray world. Gain that 10% and the world opens up the colors, like the Claret and Clear commercial, going from kind of color to bright and amazing. And I want to unlock that for you. So let's get to exactly what's created this inner villain inside of you. First, I want to talk about the external pieces that have created this villain. And the first one may shock you, and that is news. Think about it. We grew up as a generation that gets nothing but negative news pounded at us every single day. Did you know Time magazine in the 50s was about 90% positive? The covers were positive. But then Time magazine realized through the years, when that whole percentage flopped to mostly negative, is that the more negative they got, the more books they sold, the more magazines they sold. Now, is Time magazine the only one? No, Time magazine has to work off profits. So does every other news outlet in the world. If they put something positive, they don't get the results. They don't get the sales. They put something negative, boom, it spikes. So think about that. We grew up in a generation where everything thrown at us was negative. Now, how difficult is it when maybe you're in a job you don't like, or all the things that you might be here for, and then you go home and digest nothing but negativity, where the world seems like it's fallen apart. It seems like it's fallen apart worse now than ever, when if you look through history, there's always been crap. There's always been things, but it's all about how we think, right? Do we want to be the thermometer or the thermostat? When you watch the news, to me, that affects you in such a way that even if you are the thermostat, you become the thermometer. That little box, that newspaper, that magazine, that radio is affecting you and controlling and pushing you to build this villain going, hey, why would you want to do your own thing? The economy's going to crash. Why do you think there could be love? Everybody's cheating on Facebook. Why do you think there could be happiness? Why do you think you could be in shape? We're more obese now than ever before in the world, and kids are going to die early of diabetes. When you digest that, it is building this villain, it is lowering your confidence, and it's creating self-doubt. So here's what I'd love for you to ask. Like I said, I'm going to tell you how this villain was created, how it's fueled, and I'm also going to give you these little pieces on how I've killed the villain in my life. And so many students of mine and wonderful friends that I've been so blessed to help have done the same thing with these cool little things. So what I would love for you to do is take 30 days, starting today, and go on a news diet. Total news diet. Can't watch the news, can't read about it, can't ask your friends about it. Use that energy and time to go within, to work on some of the things we're going to talk about in a moment, on changing your story, maybe meditating. If that's too much, take up exercising, take up running, spending more time with your kids, your family, read more books, start your new business, focus on positive thoughts. I don't know what it is, but take out that time you spend on digesting any news that can build that villain and spend it on you. Okay, that's the first one. Number two, we were taught to work on our weaknesses. That may be the biggest lie that we've ever been taught. The biggest lie, hands down, the biggest lie. That lie right here hits me personally because this one almost made me not seek out what I wanted out of life. I knew there was more for me. I knew that my past didn't determine my future. I knew that so many of the things I was being told growing up were bullshit. I don't know how I've been blessed by God or the universe, the world, whatever you believe in, but I was blessed to know this at a young age. I was blessed not to listen to other people. I was blessed to paint outside the lines and not do what other people say. I wasn't supposed to make it, guys. Like I said, I barely got out of high school. I was in special ed until 10th grade. I had no money. I started in 11th and 12th grade, I only went to school for 3 hours a day. And I was working on cars the rest of the day. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody rich. I wasn't smart enough to get videos and audios and read books at a young age. I wasn't supposed to make it. But one of the things that I almost got me was working on my weaknesses. Let me just tell you a couple stories. One, my first book, Totally Fulfilled. New York Times bestseller, personal development book, wrote it about 9 years ago. When I first decided to write this, I wanted to share my passion. Now, I'll be honest with you, I look at that book now and I wasn't as consciously mature as I am now. That book was amazing and it hit New York Times bestseller. But as we evolve, we either climb or we slide, right? There's no in between, there's no hovering. But that book was, impactful. But if you read that book or you watch me now or you read my future books, what you'll realize is I write books exactly the way I talk. I don't hire someone else to write them. A lot of times they're not perfect as far as grammar, but they deliver a message. That's all I'm here for. My unique ability is delivering a message that hopefully transforms your life, not being an English major. So let me just tell you, so I have all these limiting beliefs because of, hey, can I really write a book? And I got through those. I powered through those because my past doesn't predict, the past doesn't say I should be a writer, but I'm not. I just want to deliver a message through a book. Anyway, I write this whole book. I'm so proud of it. And I find out who the best editor is. And I find this lady. She's on the opposite side of the country. I fly. I meet her. She sounds great. I give her the book. I fly back home. 2 days later, I get a call from her, and she said, "Dean, this isn't a book. This is a 200-page conversation. It's so she used the word embarrassing. She said, need a complete rewrite." And I remember hanging up the phone and I said to myself, my limiting beliefs kicked in because I was taught to work on our weaknesses. I should have had better grammar, maybe better spelling, understood how to punctuate and all the things that, English is so difficult for me. And I said, who are you, Dean, to think you could write a book? That was crazy. And I spent about 24 hours beating myself up. Luckily, I have a fast bounce back rate. And then I realized, holy crap, look at this story I'm telling myself. Are you kidding me? No, I have a message, and I know that message could change people's lives. No, I'm not perfect at English and grammar, and maybe it sounds like a 200-page conversation. I don't care. I called her back and said, I respect your opinion. I don't need your services anymore. You're fired. I found someone else, and I said, do me a favor. Just make this legible and leave my words. Don't change. I don't want to be someone else. This is me. This is who I am. People could take me or leave me. We cleaned it up. First book I ever published, put it out. It was a New York Times bestseller in 2 weeks, and I'm honored to say that. But who cares about the New York Times bestseller? Let's be honest. Really, the message in there changed lives. So many people I'll talk about throughout this entire training were transformed because of that book. So what if I didn't? What if I would have said to myself, man, I should have worked on my weaknesses? So let me just give you a couple more examples. A good friend of mine is Ned Hollowell. He's America's leading ADD doc. You've seen him on Dr. Phil. You've seen him on Oprah numerous times. She calls him the world's #1 ADD doctor. He's Harvard trained. He's a Harvard professor. And we were a lot of places together, and one day we're sitting down, and I feel like I grew up with ADD. You probably didn't notice. I said, what is ADD? And he said, and just in simple terms, and he said, it's a blessing. Kids with ADD, it's a blessing. But what they have to realize, ADD is like you have a Ferrari engine and you have Pinto brakes. You got this gas, this engine that can go fast. You just don't know how to tap the brakes. Because I just teach kids and adults how to have better brakes. And when I do, they can go faster than anybody. So it was just so intriguing to me. So I said to him, why do you have so much success? Why do you have so much success curing kids, curing adults, and taking them off medication? He said, let me give you an example. And this really hit home for me. And I'll tell you why in a minute. He said, when a kid has ADD and he's sitting in class and he's trying to read a book and his foot's tapping, he really doesn't want to read, the teacher thinks if he or she's not, really educated on ADD and his philosophies, is Johnny's going to sit in that chair and read that book. We're going to teach him to do it. And when the teacher makes him sit in that chair and can't handle it anymore, finally Johnny gets up, runs around the class. Not only does he have ADD, he's got ADHD. He's a hyper little guy now, right? And it's self-fulfilling. He says, what I do is go in and I find out what Johnny is good at. I don't know if it's gym, it's baseball, it's math, he loves science. We find one thing because everybody in the world is good at something. And he said, we get his teachers and his parents involved, and we help Johnny, what he's good at, to become great at it. And when he becomes great at that one thing, the confidence, he said, goes through the roof, and it trickles down, and all of a sudden you fast forward a couple months, and Johnny's in that same classroom reading the book because he wants to. We strip kids' confidence. We strip people's confidence. When you let this villain build, when we're taught to work on our weaknesses, it lowers our confidence and it destroys everything. Nothing works when you're at 90% confidence. And that story just hit me so hard because I went through school struggling, but no one saw all the other benefits I could do. I had dyslexia, so I became so amazing at visual and audible learning. I could watch somebody drive a bulldozer for 5 minutes and jump on and use it. Right? I could watch somebody on stage and be able to emulate that. I was able to absorb so many things. I was able to start things fast and get them accomplished fast. But I was told to work on my weaknesses. And it almost crippled me. You know, you're amazing at something. You might be amazing at a lot of things. I'd love for you to take a moment right now and stop this video, pause it for a minute, and write down, what are you good at? You should just have it. Just write down, what are you good at? Are you good at communicating? Are you good at selling? Are you good at just being honest? Are you good at being an anchor? Are you good at being a listener? Are you good at organizing and structuring? Are you good at developing systems? Because here's what I know. There are things that you were given by God, the universe, your unique ability that you are just good at because you're good at. There's no explanation why you're good at, you just are. And in life, what happens is we start working on the things, we focus on what we're not good at, this little 10% bucket of things we suck at, for lack of a better word, and we ignore the 90%. And out of that 90%, there's a part of that you were just great at something or really good at something. And if you put energy, effort, remember the two wolves? If you put energy and effort on the things that you're good at and you get great at, I promise you it overlaps the things you're not good at. Right? I'm really good at communicating. I'm good at being on TV and offering my book to people around the world, right? So that unique ability of mine overcame where I could pay somebody to be an editor. I don't have to be good at grammar. I don't have to be good at spelling and punctuation. I got so good at other things that I can pay someone to do it. If you're not great at systems and you're in a company that wants you to do systems, you're going to be frustrated every single day of your life. If you're all about being organized and your partner is sloppy and always messing things up, you're going to be frustrated. So I would love for you to just make a list right now of the things that you're good at. And then next to them, make a list on how you can improve those and enhance this unique ability given to you. Because on this evolution, as we unfold everything, you're going to see that if you could spend your focus, energy, time, and effort on the things you're good at, it can fix all the other things without even focusing on them. What I've discovered in my life is I don't have to focus on the things I'm not good at anymore. I just get so good over here that they tend to just go away. Here's the last story I want to tell you. I was doing a small roundtable education where people came in, and one guy's name was Tom, and I taught Tom for years. I'm personal development. I have New York Times bestselling books on how to profit in real estate. Real estate was one of the things that changed my life financially. But it could be any tool. Once it's right here, anything you plug in works, right? But this happened to be Tom, who was 68 years old and retired and went in and had done 4 real estate deals already. And he averaged $15,000 profit per each. Well, that's great and amazing, incredible. So I'm going around the table and I'm saying to each person, because it's this 15 people round table, and I said, what's holding you back? What's your obstacles? Oh, let's do this. We fixed that one. Most of them were in here, just so you know. It wasn't the real estate education, it was in here. It gets to Tom. Tom, wonderful guy. I said, hey, Tom, what's holding you back? He said, Dean, I have to tell you. He goes, I'm so damn sloppy, you have no idea. He said, I could clean my car and a week later it's a disaster. My home office, invoices, papers all over the place. I'm just so sloppy. And he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not doing another deal until I go to Office Max and I get a filing cabinet and a filing system, and I'm going to label everything, and I'm going to create a system to be organized. And Tom was done. I said, you done, Tom? He goes, yep, that's it. I said, let me just be frank with you, Tom. You're almost 70. I said, you're screwed. You're going to be sloppy and disorganized to the day you die, and who cares? And he looked shocked. And as I was talking, I made that a little funny, but it was true. Everything I'm sharing with you is true. I watched 1,000 pounds and 60 years fall off his shoulders. I mean, literally, I watched him get serious where I thought he was going to break down. Because I said, Tom, dude, you never did real estate in your life. You had a completely different job. We helped get your mindset in the right area, and you've done 4 deals already. You're amazing at doing deals, at finding a deal other people can't, getting it rehabbed and getting it sold. Who gives a crap that you're not that organized? Take some of that money. What if you did 1 extra deal a year and you paid somebody part-time to just organize? And never worry about being disorganized ever again. Do not work on your weakness. Don't put another thought into it. Pay someone to fix your weakness. Overcome your weakness by being great at what you're already good at. And he just sat there. And I think he probably reminisced of a teacher, a parent, maybe spouse, saying, you're sloppy, you better learn to get organized. He had all those years just piled up on him. And I watched him go away. So what weaknesses are holding you back? What have people told you should work on? What beliefs do you have about your weaknesses? I want to encourage you to get great at what you're already good at. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the next outside factor that fuels and builds the villain within, or the inner villain, is bad advice. What's the most costly advice in the entire world? Bad advice. So I want you to think about having a new alarm system inside your body. Remember, we're talking about what fuels it and how these little fixes. I want you to have an internal alarm. And when free advice, in so many cases, bad advice comes your way, I want the alarms to go off, and I want you to just pretend there's a glass wall up. Let me give you an example, and this one's a little funny, but I want to put some humor in something that's real. My parents were married 5 times each, and my dad's divorced, and my mom is married. I'm very happy right now, and I love that. But they only know how to do marriage wrong. I'm sorry to say that. I love my parents. They're wonderful people. But when I want marriage advice, I go to my friends who've been married 30, 40 years and found a way to keep the passion, keep the love, keep funny with each other, hold hands, having the ideal relationship, not just from the outside, but a real relationship that produced good kids and amazing children and grandchildren. Not my parents. They really don't know. I'll be honest with you. I was married twice. I'm married now, happily married with 2 amazing children. Brianna and Brody, the love of my life, both of them little nuggets, right? But I was married one time before, and I jumped out of that relationship with the first hiccup. She was a wonderful lady, a wonderful, wonderful lady. But my example was, I got married really young, but my example was my parents, whenever things went wrong, my parents jumped out of a relationship. It's like you hit a pothole and throw the car away. It was a bump. I felt it. It was shaky. That was the example I saw. That was the belief I had at that time. I was too young to explore and truly understand what was right, what was wrong. I was taking advice from someone who didn't know. So when I want advice, I get it from someone that's doing it right. Now, to lighten things up for a minute, I'll just be honest with you. About 7 years ago, I did a TV show, and on the TV show, I was offering my book for sale, and at one part, I said this. I said, guys, be careful of the advice that you get. My parents were married 5 times each. When I want marriage advice, I don't ask my parents. They only know how to do it wrong. But I was in the zone, and I don't use scripts like I'm not using one now. I'm living from the heart, just like on my TV show. I'm living from the heart. I offer my book for sale, and I forget about it. And the show becomes a hit. It's playing all over the country, 7 days a week, day and night. It's one of the biggest shows on TV. I'm selling book after book and changing lives all over. I'm stoked. And I got a call from my mom. I'm not exaggerating or embellishing this story at all. I'm just taking a break from all this training. And I pick up the phone, and my mom said, really? I said, hey, Mom, what's up? She said, really? I said, what? She goes, you have to tell the whole world that I was married 5 times. She's like, and her favorite aunt is Aunt Dot, Aunt Dorothy. She goes, Aunt Dot never knew I was married more than twice. Why would you do this? Anyway, that's how serious I am about bad advice. And just all kidding aside, 2 days later, I bought my mom a brand new car, and I've been buying her a new car about every 18 months since. Kind of bought a little forgiveness there. But I wanted to make a point and drive it home. Is if you want advice, follow people who are doing it at a level you want or higher, and don't take bad advice. It can absolutely be a nail in the coffin of your evolution, your growth, and finding that new story. Okay, next on the list is limiting beliefs. from others. We can talk about our own limiting beliefs in a moment in the next section, the internal part of this villain that we build. But right now, I want to just talk about identifying limiting beliefs that others instill in us. Think about this. If your grandparents went through the Depression, they might have saw your parents every day, or you when you were little, and said, you have to be safe. You have to get a job. Doesn't matter if it's a good job. You just got to be safe. They went through hell during the Depression. So many people couldn't even eat. So they say only the rich get richer during a depression, and you have to be secure. You have to get a job even if you don't love it, and save every dollar and be frugal. And you're living this life where you're in a job that you don't like, you're saving every dollar, you're not having fun, and you wonder why the hell you feel like shit driving to work every day. Because someone else gave you a limiting belief. It's like a hard drive. They attached it to your hard drive, and somehow that's defining and driving your life like you're a robot. You might, like me, my limiting belief, I watched my parents get married and divorced and married and divorced and married and divorced. In my early 20s, I had no faith in marriage. No faith. I didn't even know if I was going to have kids. And I'm the proudest dad in the world, just like you. If you're a parent, you know what it feels like. If I would have missed that. Now, my grandmother had the best line. She said, if you have kids, you'll love them more than anything in life. And if you don't have kids, you'll never know what you missed. And you'll grow in a different area and love other places. And I get that. But I'm so fortunate I have children. But when I was in my early 20s, my belief was marriages just don't work. And they're painful. And the kids feel pain. It's not good. Don't do it. That was a limiting belief someone else gave me and attached to me. And I don't want it. And I grabbed it and flicked it. But you got to identify and know. So I want you to be aware. And what I would do right this very moment is I would stop this video and I would write down, what are the limiting beliefs that other people have given you? Now, you have your own, and we're going to go deeper in identifying this in the second part of section 2. But really, I want you to know, I want you to write down, what has the world given you? What has a teacher given you? A spouse given you, possibly? A mother or a father thinking that they're caring for you? Right? Thinking they're protecting you. And what has that limited belief done to your life? Caused you to miss out? How has that fueled this inner villain? And how has it possibly lowered your confidence, which creates self-doubt and keeps you standing in line to do what everybody else does? And that's the last part of identifying, exposing, and fueling that inner villain. And that's it. And that's doing what others do. Sorry, it's getting sloppier and sloppier the lower I get. But here's what I want you to think about. In school, we're taught to stand in line and do what everybody else does. We're taught to get good grades, paint inside the lines, go to high school, try to get into a college, then find a job, start a 401k, save up and be happy you have that. Paint inside the lines. And when you step outside the lines, boy, everybody looks at you kind of funny, right? I mean, think about this. How many baby boomers are watching right now that when you were in high school, you had this passion, maybe this dream, and you graduated and threw your cap and you thought the world was going to be yours? Or when you graduated from college, maybe you knew what you wanted or you weren't even sure, but you knew you had a passion for something. And maybe if you followed your passion even a little bit, people put their arm around you and go, son, isn't it time to grow up? Time to get responsible. We're in this world where we think being responsible is doing what everybody else does and pigeonholing, forcing ourselves into something that makes everybody else happy. Like, think about that. When you give up on your dream and you settle, then you get to the same arm around you and go, son, I'm proud of you. You're finally grown up. Really? I just threw my freaking life away? And some of you, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but some of you took that job and you might still be in it and you're just coasting. And that's okay because you're here right now. You're here at this moment for a reason, because it's time for transformation. And all those things, life happens for us, not just to us. That's from Tony Robbins. I love that quote. What if we just went through life knowing it didn't happen to us, it happened for us, so you could be at this exact moment? Because what I know is when you follow what everybody else has, you get what everybody else has. So right now, I want to give you permission to forget all the guidelines, forget all the rules that other people have put on you or what society thinks. I mean, think about this. Schools were developed during the Industrial Revolution. Or it's the same model, right? You go in a room, you sit with other people. When the bell rings, you go to other places, you get an hour for lunch. It's like being at the warehouse, right? I mean, think about this. In life, if we don't collaborate, we die. If we're not collaborating, especially as business owners or trying to be ahead of what you do at work, you have to collaborate with other people. Somebody's good at this, they stink at this, you bring all these assets together. I was horrible in grammar. I was really good at math, but no teacher ever sat me down and said, hey, sit with Joey. Joey's incredible at English, you're good at math, together you guys could have a great grade. No, that's called cheating. When you talk to other person, it's socializing when you shouldn't. It's keep your mouth shut. And if you think about that, that's what we're supposed to be structured and stand in line and do. And then we get in this world and we don't know what to do. No, I just don't believe in that. I think that the educational system is outdated. I think that it worked during the Industrial Revolution, but the people, what made this country was forward-thinking, visionary entrepreneurs. What's going to keep this country thriving is forward-thinking, visionary entrepreneurs, people like you who find it conscious, who understand what the world is and is conscious of the moment we're living in. Not worrying about the past, not focusing on tomorrow, but living in this very moment. So what I'd love for you to do right now is, what if you took all the boundaries, and maybe you don't. If you're watching me right now, you already might be on a conscious level as high as I am or higher, and you get this. But if not, I'd love for you to pause the video and write down, what would you do? What changes would you make today if you didn't care what anybody else said, if society had nothing to do with it? If you weren't afraid about the income, if you weren't afraid about what other people thought about you, what changes would you make today? So do that exercise right now, and then as soon as we're done, when you come back, after you pause the video, we're going to come back and we're going to talk how these external pieces feed and build that villain, and what are the symptoms that come out internally.